Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Feazell, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge television, radio, and podcast talk show. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday, beginning at 2 p.m. on the Eastern Time Zone. As I get to ride home with you in the afternoon, you may find us on television. It's Abundance Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. 4 years with them, by the way. We're celebrating that anniversary next month. And also, you can find us on another television station. This is up close to Huntsville, channel 182 on Charter Communications. You can also find us on the radio at WZLA, the biggest country station in South Carolina. Those folks there like to hear AP, by the way. But anyway, but AP, they want you to do a little more like, Clemson and all that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, but I want to see what I hear about that. They are by South Carolina and Clemson, like we are by Alabama and Auburn.
Yes.
These people are almost like they won't even date anybody. It's like that.
You have to filter everybody. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, I thought I was going to get exiled from the Feazell family because I was an Auburn fan. So anyway, they didn't they accepted me. So AP Steadham is with me right now, and you guys like watching him. I feel like it's been like 1,000 years since you've been on the show. We just missed 1 week, but you got busy where you were. Let's talk about what you did last week.
Yeah, Donna, we went to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for the 2026 NFL draft. And Donna, they used to have the draft in New York for about 50 years, and they started moving around to various cities. And so it was in Pittsburgh this year. It hadn't been in Pittsburgh since 1947. That was for the 48 season. So that's been a while, but we really enjoyed ourselves. We went to Pittsburgh and saw the draft, and the news out of the draft specifically for the SEC was they set a record again. 87 selections in the draft. I think 79 last year was their record. So they improved that by 8. You have Texas and Oklahoma now in the league. So that's 16 teams. And then the second place conference was 68 by the Big Ten. And they have 18 teams. They have 2 more teams, but they ended up 19 players less. So the SEC still has the most players that are selected in the NFL draft. And Donna, that's 20 straight years, I think it is. 20 straight years. The SEC has dominated the draft. And then Alabama, 18 straight years. That's a record, consecutive years with somebody in the first round. And then 10 years consecutive with at least minimum of 2. So Alabama by itself set a couple records with the NFL draft. This year, Alabama had 10. And Texas A&M had 10. They tied for the most in the conference. And then Georgia had 8. LSU, Florida, Texas at 7. Missouri, Oklahoma 6. Auburn and Tennessee at 5. Arkansas, Kentucky 4. South Carolina 3. Mississippi State and Ole Miss 2. And Vanderbilt 1. I think that 2 for Ole Miss is kind of surprising because here they are, a team that made the playoffs, but only 2 players were drafted. That's kind of surprising.
So how does that work? I mean, why only 2?
Yeah, they probably have quite a few coming back, but still only 2 from a playoff team. That's unusual, Donna. Yeah. So
you were pretty busy last week.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, we were very busy, Donna. We had access to all the players, and by the way, they can watch the interviews that we were able to conduct on that Wednesday prior to the draft. We were at a clinic that the 16 or 17 players that accepted the invitation, they were instructing children at a clinic at a high school field. And then after we had access to them, so those interviews are available. Plus, we interviewed Charlie Davis. He's a college football analyst. Played at University of Tennessee. He's going to be with, CBS this year doing the Big Ten. But of course, he knows a lot about the SEC. And then Joel Klatt with Fox, and we did those interviews. And then we had the interviews the night of the draft, and the other on Thursday. And then there was one player that stayed, and we interviewed him on Friday. So all those interviews of the players, the ones that we were able to sit down or be a part of that podium interview on the night of the draft, and the next day they're on our YouTube channel at AP As We See It. So we were really busy videotaping and interviewing and asking questions. And I had a couple interns there. I let them ask the questions primarily. So that was fun to watch them as well.
Let me ask you a question. Now, you and I are friends, so we can interview each other. It's no problem.
Yes.
But last week, I interviewed an interviewer. And
Yes.
it's like we just had to scrap it and start all over again because we were waiting on each other. You know what I mean? Do you find that when you're interviewing an interviewer, when you're out on the road, you're trying not to be rude and you're trying to give them the shot at it, you know?
Yes. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So we did. Yeah. Interview Charles Davis and Joel Clay. Yeah. They're used to doing the interviews, but we were interviewing them.
Yeah, that's all kinds of crazy. I wanted to ask you about the tennis circuit. Do you have any information? There's some new things happening there.
In tennis. Yeah. In tennis, Donna, unfortunately, I hate to report, but Arkansas, they are going to disband their tennis program for the men and the women. Think about this, Donna. 71 years the men have had a tennis team. 46 years the women have had the program at Arkansas. And the administration, it seems like from the coaches' replies and remarks, one of the coaches, that they were not consulted on to seeing how they can sustain the program. So combined, it costs about $2.5 million to run the men's and the women's program. And the men's team, I think it is, they're actually in the NCAA tournament against Cornell, if I read that correctly. So I was very disappointed that you're disbanding teams that have been around for decades, over $2.5 million. You say that's a lot of money. Well, Donna, let's put it into perspective. Most schools, let's say at the SEC, to retain your quarterback, you're probably paying your quarterback, I'm thinking minimum $2 million. So you're paying one player on one team the amount it costs to have two complete programs. That's the coaches, the nutrition, the training, the scheduling, but you're willing to just up and disband and get rid of the entire two programs that you've had for decades and really did not consult with the coaches. I think it's disheartening to see that happen right away. You're always complaining about money, yet you're paying coaches. For instance, Georgia pays their coach $13 million. Alabama just upped their football coach to 12 something million, and their basketball coach, he gave him a raise and extended years. But does it make sense to you to be complaining about money and then you're cutting entire programs, but yet you're giving raises of $2 million, $2 million per year raise?
That's just like,
say
to the other programs.
Yeah. I think it's disingenuous, Donna, to say that. We know that tennis doesn't make money. We understand that all the sports except primarily football and men's basketball generate the revenue, but that's been going on decade after decade. That's nothing new. And all of a sudden you up and say, well, we're going to get rid of your program, where you didn't even approach the people who are the coaches and the players and say, look, we have a little issue here moving forward. Can we do something to sustain the program in some form but they're going to just use those $2.5 million. They're going to give them to all the other programs. I'm thinking primarily football and now basketball at Arkansas. Supposedly they have the most money in their budget to recruit, and they got one of the top recruiting classes coming up. So I just it doesn't add up, and I'm using that pun intended. To say we're $2 million short, $2.5 million short, but we have $2 million to pay a quarterback, one player on the football team.
Well, let me ask you a question. Is there a lack of interest? Are they not gaining players? I mean, what's the deal?
Well, they just don't make any money, Donna. I mean, you have nice tennis facilities in the SEC, and they play healthy schedules and around the country and tournaments. But it's just the fact that it costs money to run those programs. They don't generate the revenue. Just you could sell out all your softball games, but I don't think it generates enough money to be a positive. But you're generating revenue, but not enough to sustain the program independently. Whereas football, and basketball you're paying for the other sports as well, and the coaching salaries and the nutrition and all the other things, the traveling. So they're just sports that do not have enough revenue. But like I said, it's been going on for decades, and all of a sudden, up out of nowhere, we can't afford $2 million, but we can pay a quarterback $2 million, a coordinator, offensive coordinator $2 million, offensive coordinator $2 million, $3 million. I mean, at Ohio State, the coordinator on defense, he almost makes $4 million by himself.
Well, here's my big question. If I were a tennis player, I would be asking this. Okay, so where is the money going? I mean, you got to put it somewhere. So if you're not going to put it in the tennis program, well, then where is my $2 million going?
They're siphoning to the other programs. So the minimum amount of sports, Donna, that you could have to compete at the FBS level for football, you have to have 16 sports. So now Arkansas has, I believe it will be 17. They'll have 10 with the men and 10 with the women and 7 with the men. So they're on the cusp of just being on that 16, the minimum for FBS level football. If you don't have FBS level football, I think the minimum is 14 sports, men and women total. So, but I just think that since Arkansas was the first one in the last year or so to get rid of sports, I can't recall any SEC school getting rid of sports, Olympic sports, they call them, tennis, baseball, those types of things, and track. I think that's the first one in many years to get, and I'm thinking everybody's watching Arkansas. They got rid of the tennis. I think you're going to see some more schools saying we're going to get rid of more sports. And that's disappointing.
Yeah. There'll be more dominoes falling there, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think so. It's disappointing to me because you're in the SEC, you're making all that TV revenue for the football and the basketball, and you're paying coaches exorbitant fees, but you don't have in $2 million out of budgets that are 100 million and 150 million. That's not very much money down. It seems like you're picking on somebody who can't defend themselves. That's what it seems like to me.
Is there an outcry from the kids who play tennis?
Yeah, there is, and especially from the former players. You know, you have a program for 71 years and 46 years. That's a lot of alumni that have contributed to that program and everything. So, yeah, they're not happy. But you need a groundswell of support from the alumni and the student body and the people who support Arkansas to say, hey, wait a minute. We had these programs all these decades. We can't find $2.5 million. That's to run both of them combined. So, that's less, it's $1 million something for each one. So I can't believe that Arkansas does not have the corporate support to sustain a women's program, particularly, and a men's program that doesn't cost a lot of money.
Well, let me ask you a question. When a decision is made like this, does this run through Congress, or is this just something the school can do?
No, that's school. That's independently. In other words, like I said, they do have the minimum amount of sports that you must maintain. 17 if you're a school like Arkansas that plays FBS level football. 16, I'm sorry, 16 is the minimum, but they have 17 when they disband those two teams. So, no, it's an independent decision to a degree, right? Because you do have a minimum of sports that are required.
New station alert.
Well, as long as they keep basket weaving, I guess that's all that matters. Okay.
No.
Basket weaving. Let's go into a commercial break. We'll be right back in just a few minutes. Basket weaving could be a sport. I mean, think about it. It could be. You're making a basket for the basketball goal. You know what I mean? Okay. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Everybody hang around. Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. You know, finding the right home isn't just about bedrooms and square footage. It's about comfort, security, and the feeling you get the moment you walk through the door. That's why so many families across Greenwood and the Lakelands area trust Jenny Ferguson with Keller Williams. And I'll tell you from personal experience, Jenny was my realtor, and she truly cares about her clients. Jenny takes the time to listen, to understand what matters most, and to guide you every step of the way, whether you're buying your first home, upgrading, or ready to sell. Because this isn't just a transaction, it's your life. With local knowledge, personal care, and a commitment to getting it right, Jenny Ferguson makes the process simple and even enjoyable. So if you're thinking about buying or selling, now's the time to make your move. Call Jenny Ferguson with Keller Williams in Greenwood today and take the next step toward a place you'll truly love coming home to. Shine your style at Kiss My Glass right here in the Anderson Mall. There's a place where style meets sparkle. At Kiss My Glass, every piece is handcrafted, custom designed, and made to shine just like you. Owner Beth Gibson brings creativity to life with stunning custom tumblers, gifts, and one-of-a-kind pieces you won't find anywhere else. Look for the perfect gift or something uniquely you, from bold and glamorous to simple and elegant. There's something for every style, so stop by, get inspired, and leave with something unforgettable. Kiss My Glass inside the Anderson Mall, Anderson, South Carolina, where your sparkle begins. Be sure to check out Kiss My Glass on Facebook for updates and specials and gift ideas.
Are you ready?
We all wonder what tomorrow will bring, but the future lays itself at the feet of the prepared and surrenders to the will of the persistent. It's not easy, but today shapes you so you can shape tomorrow. With Northeast Alabama Community College, when the future asks if you're ready, you can answer.
Yes.
Begin your future at Northeast Alabama Community College.
I just don't get it. What would Billie Jean King say? I mean, she was my idol growing up. It was just like I was all in this.
Yeah. They had to fight to have a tennis team on the collegiate level. So those fights, you think you won those battles 40, 50 years ago, and here it is. You're still having to fight.
Oh, my goodness. And she did. Billie Jean King did have to fight about it. I mean, literally. I mean, she was just, and she was so successful, I mean, everybody knows Billie Jean King. Even a baby would know who Billie Jean King is. So anyway, I guess we'll get off that bandwagon. But I'm just going to tell you, I don't agree with that. And I'm like you, it's going to be a domino effect.
I think so. I think these athletic directors, they said, okay, I'm not going to do it. You're going to be the first one. And Arkansas was the first one.
Yeah. When an outcry comes, maybe something to be done about that. So what's going on in the world of football? Anything new?
Yeah, the football down at, speaking of Arkansas, they had their spring game. So there's a competition there between KJ Jackson and AJ Hill. AJ's a transfer from Memphis, redshirt freshman. They're both big quarterbacks down, about 6'4", 220, 230. But KJ Jackson, he's a redshirt sophomore. I think he'll probably be the winner, but they had their spring game, and he was 9 of 13 for 129 yards, and AJ Hill was 9 of 17 for 95 yards. So that happening. But also, I know the folks at Clemson, they like to hear about their team. Don, there's an Alabama connection there for those who are not familiar with Clemson football, but Christopher Bazina, he's from Alabama. So he's probably the projected starter at Clemson. Wow. And so he's been there a little bit. And so I'm looking forward to watching him. I should be on my schedule the first game of the year, FBS level. I will be at the Clemson at LSU game. So it's the Tigers from Death Valley coming to play the Tigers of the other Death Valley. whichever one claims who's the better Tiger or the better Death Valley. We're going to find out. But yeah, that's the first game of the season. Big game because it's between the ACC, Clemson, and the SEC, LSU. They're both trying to become playoff contenders, of course. And Dabo Sweeney, is at a down season, so he's trying to regroup. 7-6 last year, and so in LSU with their brand new coach Lane Kiffin. So we look forward to that matchup. But that's Clemson. They had their spring game, and Christopher Vizzino was 10 for 18 for 95 yards and a touchdown. So, but yeah, I think I would say Clemson's going to be better. We'll get more in depth as the season, as the weeks progress here. We'll learn about them, but anyway, football wise, yeah, the spring games are they're over, and Donna, now it's just the off season, getting ready in the summer, the rest of the spring and the summertime, and getting ready for the preseason. And we'll have the media days for the football. We'll be in Tampa this year, Donna, for the first time, mid-July for the SEC, and ACC is around that time as well. They're not the same days, but it's in July as well. So I'm trying to get to. Well, I'll be at the SEC. I'm trying to get to the ACC as well, but we'll see if that happens.
Well, let me ask you a question. This pertains to the spring games. Have you seen anything that makes you think there are that would be your top 5 teams right now? Anything that's kind of sticking out there?
Yeah, no, because the spring games, Donna, they're kind of watered down now. Some of the teams, Donna, they'll just have. Maybe it's like a practice session, and they invite the fans and like a meet and greet more than really a scrimmage, because they don't want anybody to get hurt. And so it's kind of changed now. It used to be more exciting, I think, but now it's kind of mundane. You're just trying to finish up your spring practice and not get anyone hurt.
It's almost it's almost a meet and greet, like
right.
Meet and greet, almost.
Right. Yeah. So it's kind of not as intense as it used to be many years ago, where they'd actually have an MVP for the game and give different awards at the end of the spring season. The best end and the best running back and the best offensive player and defensive player, and the awards were named after former players or other people associated with the program. So it's different now. And that's fine. We'll have plenty of days and nights to watch the teams play when it comes in the fall.
Well, I liked your analogy last year of the Wild West of football, and it's going to be a mess of the Wild West this coming year. We're getting a little bit more into maturity with the new rules and regulations. Yeah,
and Donna, I always say to people that I look at Georgia, because they know how to win in spite of themselves sometimes. As we said a couple of years ago, they couldn't run the ball. They dropped the most passes, yet they won the conference. I mean, that's pretty amazing. They're 90-something in running, which is supposed to be a strong point for Kirby Smart. He likes to run and play defense, and they were dropping all the passes, but they still won the conference. So Georgia's still the team to beat in my eyes, but it'll be very competitive. Alabama's trying to get back there. You have Tennessee wants to get back in the playoffs, LSU with their new coach, and Ole Miss with a good quarterback. He's getting an extra year of eligibility. Trinidad Chambliss, he was the surprise. He was probably one of the biggest surprises last season. Indiana was the total surprise. That's the best story I've ever seen. Indiana winning that championship as the losingest program in FBS level football. I mean, like I said, if you submitted that script to Hollywood, they would have rejected it, saying it never could have happened. But real life sometimes surprises us, doesn't it?
Yeah. How about Auburn? Are they still on the slippery slope?
Yeah, Auburn with the new coach, Alex Golish, and he brought over his quarterback, who was very successful at South Florida, 42 total touchdowns, which led the country, 28 passing, 14 on the ground. So that not only did they get a new coach, but they're bringing the quarterback who's been in his system. So that's a plus, a big plus. To not only starting over again with a new head coach, but you're bringing a quarterback who's been in that specific system and highly successful. So, but it's, Donna, it's getting more competitive every year. This will probably be the most. I see Kentucky improving with their new coach, Will Stein. South Carolina's trying to rebound under Shane Beamer with Lenore Sellers, their quarterback, who has, top level ability, but he has to put it together now with his team and produce on the field. They have to play better defense, give him some support on that side. Vanderbilt will have a new quarterback, and we know what they did last year, 10 wins, first time for the program. Clark Lee, excellent coach. We know that Texas, they're going all in down, and they got wide receiver Cam Coleman, transfer from Auburn. I think he's going to break out, have a big year with Arch Manning as the quarterback. And they have other good receivers there as well. So they can't triple team him. They might be able to double team him, maybe not triple team him on that side. But so Texas is all in. Oklahoma returns their quarterback, Mateer. They improved on the defense. So, they made the playoffs last year. Texas A&M was in the playoffs. They returned their quarterback. Their coach, has been there. Mike Elko, new coach, relatively new. So he had success being in the playoffs. Florida with a new coach, hard-nosed coach. So probably trying to turn them around. Missouri, new quarterback there, transfer from Ole Miss. He was highly recruited out of the South Florida area. So they're used to winning. They're trying to get to the playoffs. They're right on the cusp. So there's a lot of Arkansas with a new coach, as we mentioned, from Memphis. So all these teams in the SEC, Mississippi State, they're on the ascent. They're close to winning games. Now they got it. They're almost won some games last year, brought Tennessee to overtime. So all these teams down every week, it's very difficult to win. So can somebody put together a 10-win season? This year, Donna, I'll give you an example. The odds in Las Vegas, the amount of wins that they're projecting for each team is lower. In other words, years ago, maybe they might have Georgia at 10.5 wins, let's say. Mm-hmm. I think now it's 9.5 because they're playing an extra game, 9 SEC games where it was 8 before. So even the total amount of wins projected by the odds makers is lower because they understand that it's more competitive. That'll give you an indication. Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. So back in mine and your early days of a show together, okay, there was always like one Cinderella team. Now it seems like I'm hearing you say there's going to be more than one Cinderella team.
Exactly. That's a good way to place it. Yeah, Cinderella and her cousins, I guess you might say. Yeah. Like we saw Vanderbilt the last couple of years, right? And, we saw, Missouri with consistently winning a lot of games, whereas before they'd be up and down. They'd be like the roller coaster team, Missouri. One year they're winning 9, 10 games, and next year they're back to 6 or 7. But they're getting more consistent now because they are able to acquire talent year to year, and you're selecting the players that fit your system. You have the money and the resources. Everybody, you hear athletic directors complaining about money. Not all of them, but they're always looking for money. So all these SEC schools, Donna, they have money. They say they're always complaining, but they have money. If they don't have money, what schools have money that play Division I football? I mean, the Big Ten we know has a lot of money because they have a huge TV contract as well, and big alumni groups. Indiana, I never knew this, Donna. I don't know, maybe you knew it, but I did not know it all these years in sports. They have the biggest alumni group. Who would have thought Indiana? I never thought it was Indiana. I thought it was Michigan, Ohio State, Texas, UCLA, Penn State. Those are some of the schools I thought would have the biggest alumni. No, it's Indiana all these years. So that's like a sleeping giant. They won that championship. Those people have been waiting for over 50 years. They're going to be pumping money and pouring money into that football program. They're going to be good because they have an excellent coach. They'll be good for a long time. But everybody has a chance now, Donna. You have a chance with a smart coach and a staff of analysts who can evaluate talent and then offer that money to those specific players across the country. And they'll come from anywhere, too.
That's kind of, like leveling the field. We're going to have to call it a day. AP, thank you so much for being on the show with me today. And thank you guys so much for watching. You're the reason we do what we do. Continue sending email. Donna@donnasedge.com. Donna@donnasedge.com. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.